Hello everyone, my name is Marco Poutré. I'm part of GMT's development team and I'm the developer for GMT's Napoleon in Egypt, an upcoming game on the P500 designed by Pascal Toupy and his son Tom Toupy Durand. It's obviously covering Napoleon's campaign in Egypt and Syria. And in this first of a short series of videos, I will be drawing parallels between a movie and some of the mechanics in the game. Now, that movie was initially supposed to be Ridley Scott's Napoleon. I remember when I first met Pascal, it was a few months or even a year or two before the movie was released, and we had big hopes for it. We were like, it's gonna rekindle the flame for Napoleon, not like Napoleon needs any of that in the wargaming circles. But anyway, um, then the movie came out, and pretty much like everybody else, we were sorely disappointed, especially as far as historical accuracy is involved. Um, Obviously, Napoleon's campaign in Egypt and Syria was not a big focus of his life. It's not something we typically remember. So we were not surprised that it took only a few minutes in the movie. But if only those minutes would have been accurate, it would have been something. But in the movie, if you've seen it, it's not a big spoiler, but you can see the French army in front of the pyramids and they just fire at the pyramids. So it's like the French army is it's the battle of the pyramids, I guess, but it's like the French army is fighting the pyramids and not an enemy around the pyramids. So anyway, uh, this was enough for us to lose hope altogether. And Pascal kept digging and he found a movie from 1985, a French Egyptian movie called Adieu Bonaparte, which translates to Farewell Bonaparte. So it's a movie that half in French and half in Arabic, uh, with no subtitles. So I was about to understand about 50% of it, maybe a bit less. It's more Arabic than French uh, in the movie. The actual director was from Cairo. Um, and there's a bit of fiction, there's a bit of romance in the movie. It's not about Napoleon himself. The main character is one of Napoleon's general, a guy named Caffarelli, who truly existed. He was a general in Napoleon's army. That was a big, um, he was always playing the devil's advocate with Napoleon as to how the Egyptians were treated. So he befriended the Egyptians and he was vouching for a better treatment of their customs, their way of life. I guess he ended up dying in 1799 before the campaign was over. So there's that. Um, and the way these videos are going to be structured, I guess, is I'm going to show you a short clip of the movie first, and then we'll come back to the game, and I'm going to show you how what was shown in the movie is depicted in the game, I guess. So this is all very, uh, something that we decided to do to give you some insight into the game. So in this specific video, we'll be talking about the various space types in the game. So Napoleon in Egypt is a point-to-point war game where you move formations and you pay action points to move them from space to space. Now, of course, they are open spaces, which are the circles here, which cost 1 AP to move a formation to. It's not. This is not going to be the focus of the video. The focus of our video is going to be these triangles, and of course, this is all playtest art and even playtest mechanics. The game is not out to the printer yet, um, so things might change, but still, the game is pretty mature at this point, so it would be surprising to see drastic changes. So these hollow triangles are called difficult terrain spaces, and these filled triangles are inhospitable spaces. And I think in the movie we're going to see now, in this 1 minute clip, a good example of what I would call an inhospitable space. So let's get to the movie. So you can see here that even the camel has had enough of it. And you're going to start seeing the long faces, the low morale of part of the French army as they cross a desert, which is a pretty good example of an inhospitable space in the game. And they even start to see a mirage. This is actually Caffarelli, the general I was talking about. He's the main character in the movie. And all these troops are going to be seeing a mirage, and they're going to run towards what they think is water, but it's not, which is not going to help at all with their morale.
Cruelle illusion. Ce n'est pas de l'eau.
And this is what Caffarelli says. This is not water, this is just a cruel illusion.
Non, là.
So they run in circles, hoping that they're gonna find water, but it's really not the case. So how does this translate in the game? Well, you have the option in the game to always never stray from the path, I guess, and always stay in open spaces where it's cheap to move on. But in some cases, for instance, if you're Napoleon and you want to go to El Arish here, well, you have the option to go all the way like 1, 2, 3. A difficult terrain space is not dangerous per se, but it costs 2 AP to cross. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. You could also go like, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on where the Egyptians and the Ottomans are located, if you want to avoid them or if you want to fight them. But you also have the option to take this sort of shortcut here where it's going to cost you officially like 2, 4, and then 5. So it doesn't sound like much of a saving. But, well, first of all, crossing an inhospitable space, it's going to cost you 2 AP. But the difference between this, which is difficult terrain, and an inhospitable space is that in an inhospitable space, you're going to have to roll for attrition, which is a chart here, and it gets worse the bigger your formation. So of course, a large host of men, like we saw in the clip, is more likely to lose soldiers to, thirst, fatigue, exhaustion, and whatnot. So this is one of your options now in the game. The French player specifically has access to what we call auxiliary units, and we published 2 Inside GMT articles about them. If you're interested to know more what they were exactly, in a sentence, they were local tribes that sided with the French and agreed to help them and have them benefit from their knowledge of the environment and of the hazards of Egypt and Syria. As soon as you have a single auxiliary unit in your formation, not only does it cost only 1 to cross triangles, but you also get a -1 beneficial DRM on your attrition rolls. So in that case, let's take that example back. If Bonaparte is here and he wants to go to El Arish and he has an auxiliary unit, it could be as fast as 1, 2, and 3. And he's going to have to roll for attrition here as usual, but as says the chart here, he gets a -1 DRM if the moving formation includes at least 1 auxiliary unit, which means that the worst he's going to roll is a 5, and a 5 is not as bad, I guess. It's not risk-free, but it's not as bad as the threat of rolling a 6. Anyway, the attrition is going to be less severe with an auxiliary unit. Now, the fun fact, and I had a talk with Pascal about that, and I really like the reasoning here, is that what we call the allied player in the game, which is basically the coalition of the Mamluks, the Ottomans, and the British, they don't have access to auxiliary units. And you would think that the Mamluks and the Ottomans, being natives of this land, they don't need tribes. They're just used to this weather, to this environment. But in the game, a single unit of Ottoman or Mamluks represents way more men than a single unit of French soldiers. So So they lose their advantage. So yes, they know the weather better, the terrain better, but they lose their advantage because they had such large armies, like again, great hosts of men, even bigger, oftentimes 5 times, 10 times the number of soldiers than the French would have. And I mean, even if you know everything there is to know about deserts, when you have thousands and thousands of men that need to cross it, um, well, you're gonna lose some troops and you're gonna have some trouble. So, so this specific advantage is really favoring the French, and we made it on purpose to have all these shortcuts throughout the map to create some maneuvering decisions. Options that you have, like if you're sitting here, do you want to go across, do you want to go through Cairo, do you want to take that shortcut? Same if you're here, same if you're in what we call the Thebes corridor, where once you get here you can take that shortcut to get to Thebes, get farther away from the Nile, and get to Thebes faster. So it creates all sorts of interesting dilemmas and decisions for the players. So there you have it. This is the first in a series of clip. I'm gonna be watching some more of the movie, taking notes, and then coming back to you once I have another clip that relates to the game mechanics. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks. See you later.